Okay, everybody, this is Luminousz Star. I want to thank everybody for joining me on this live stream. I want to talk to you today about basically coming to peace with having a dysfunctional relationship with narcissists. So we're really going to be talking about dysfunctional relationships with narcissists. I want to go ahead and find out if you can actually see me or not. And actually, if you can hear me and see me, please go ahead and let me know this in the chat room. Okay, let's see something. Oh, okay. So give me a few minutes to set this up so you guys can hear me, but you can't see me. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and see if I can straighten this out. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I'm going to try not to be so long-winded today. A lot of my stars, you already know how far I can go with the subject. I get to talking and it can be up to 2 hours that we're on. So I'll try not to go as far as 2 hours today. We're going to try to keep it around an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So go ahead and give me just a few moments to straighten this out. And the slide presentation link is in the chat room. If you want to go ahead and click on that and follow along as I talk about the subject today. But just give me a few moments here. Okay. All right. I certainly hope everyone is doing well today. All right. I can see if I can set my camera up here. It must have been a step that I skipped. Let's see something. Okay. Now, if for some reason I'm not able to set up this, the camera should have been set up and ready to go, but we may have to just go with the audio today. And but no worries. I'm going to be doing another live stream here. I had actually planned on doing another one before the month was over. This month was over. So today we might just go with the audio. I hope you guys and gals don't mind that. We may just go along with the audio. And then when I do the next live stream, I'll make sure that you guys can see me and you gals can see me. So I don't want to waste too much time trying to set everything up. So I think we'll just go with the audio. Yeah, we'll just go with the audio, but no worries, guys and gals. I will be doing another live stream here. If not by this Thursday, then definitely by the last day of this month. So on the 28th of February. Okay, I just don't want to waste too much time trying to set this up. So you guys and girls, forgive me for not having the camera set up. Okay, so the slide presentation is available. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. Okay. But first, I want to go ahead and greet some of you and thank you for joining me today. Truth Seeker, thank you so much for joining me today. Patricia, thank you. Little Miss Jaden, thank you so much for joining me today. Jana, thank you. Twin Crow, thank you. Is that Twin Crow? Unconditional love. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started here. Wait a minute. Let me just check one more thing for the camera. Just let me check one more thing, because maybe I can get it set up here. Jeez. Well, there's a first time for everything, because usually my camera is up and running. I'm glad you guys and girls can at least hear me. Oh. Now you can ask questions. So if you have questions, please place all of those in cap or capital letters so I can see the question. Because I know like comments are going to be made in the chat. But if you have a question, please place them in all caps. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead and get into the live stream, but I'm going to take about around the conclusion. I'll take about 20, maybe 30 minutes out and answer questions. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and see just one more thing. Let's see. I have control room. Huh. Ooh, I hate this. I hate you guys cannot see me. Okay. Let me try one more thing. One more thing. Now, if you guys can see me, please let me know. Okay. No? All right. Doesn't look like I'm going to get this camera thing together. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I actually thought you guys and girls would be able to see me. I just tried something, but I guess it didn't work. Oh, well. Okay. So let's talk about dysfunctional relationships with narcissists and cluster B personalities, and how sometimes it's a little bit difficult to come to peace with the fact that the dysfunctional relationship actually occurred, because some people, they may blame themselves. But I want to encourage all of you today not to take blame for the choices and actually the poor choices that others have made. You know, this is one way to look at it. This is what helps me, is to look at the fact that even though it was a dysfunctional relationship, those individuals who made poor choices in the relationship with me, they had their chance with me. Now, this is not just a romantic relationship. This is even family, friends, or what have you, even business partners. They have a chance with you, just like you have a chance with them on how you're going to show up in the relationship and what choices you make to contribute to that person's life. And even in the case of parents and children. Now, a lot of people say that children are a gift, and I agree with that. Children actually can teach us a lot, just like we can teach them. The thing is that a lot of parents are supposedly responsible for the child's well-being. So, you know, when little babies, they're very helpless, and they depend on the parents for survival. So in the cases of even when it comes to families, yeah, they have a chance with you. And so when they show you who they are and what they represent and what they're capable of, then it's just best to go ahead and take that as face value and say, you know what? I did the best that I could in that relationship. and the other individuals involved, they did what they knew how to do. They may not have necessarily done better, but they knew that they did what they knew. Okay, so that's sometimes how I look at it. And this is what helps me to continue to focus on my own well-being instead of focusing on the past and feeling guilty and thinking I may have maybe I have been able to do better in that relationship. Well, it's not really the case of doing better. It's doing what one knows how to do. So when it comes to dysfunctional relationships, a lot of times people, they come from a broken place. So this is one of the reasons why the relationship is dysfunctional, because there's people who are involved in that relationship. They don't have the knowledge of how to have a balanced relationship or a more healthy relationship. So you have a lot of people who are coming from a broken place and they come together in the dysfunctional relationship. And so that's where you get a lot of toxicity and things of this sort. So we're going to get into it about having dysfunctional relationships with narcissists and cluster B personalities and how to cope and deal. So of course, I'm going to be going over tools, and I'm going to share some things with you all. And I'm going to share also critical questions. The slide presentation has references and resources. And of course, if there's any questions that some may want to ask me off the cuff, or when the live stream is over, please send those to my email address, which is also in the description box below. And of course, this live stream will be available when I upload it sometime tonight or tomorrow. All right. Topics of discussion: facing the reality by not idealizing the cluster B personality and the narcissist, or the relationship that one may have with him or her. Second topic. Oh, let me sip on my little tea here. Ooh, that hits the spot. Okay, second topic: the effects and aftermath of dysfunctional relationships with narcissists and cluster B personalities. Third topic: the importance of a strong support base. Last topic is the tools, references, and resources. All right, so let's jump right into the first point, which is there are some who have been groomed as children to either behave codependently or to develop a cluster B personality or a narcissistic personality. Okay, so unfortunately, there are some who have relationships with narcissists and cluster B personalities who will tend to become traumatized. Okay, now another thing, that if this is a parent we're talking about, if this is a narcissistic parent or a parent who may behave codependently, okay, the thing that is going to happen if they have children is that they will groom those children a particular way. Either those children will develop a cluster B personality, or they're going to end up behaving codependently. So what does that mean? That means that over time, that child or those children will learn how to cope. Okay, they're going to have defense mechanisms. They're going to have survival mechanisms. They're going to be coping with the environment that they grew up in. So either way, whether they become a golden child or if they become a person who has a narcissistic personality disorder, or they behave codependently, either way you look at it, the cluster B personality, not so much the parent who behaves codependently, but the parent who has the cluster B personality or the narcissistic personality, they're looking to have source supply for a lifetime. So either way you look at it, that child or those children who grow up in such an environment and they behave a particular way and they're coping and they're dealing, either directly or indirectly, they may end up being a source supplier for life for the narcissist or the cluster personality parent. Now, this does not, I'm not saying all that to discourage anyone. I'm just laying that out because this is real. There are too many testimonies that people share about this to actually prove this. Okay, people are not making this up. Well, I'm thinking that most people are not making this up. Who would want to make up such a horrible story that they have experienced such a thing? So either way you look at it, most of the time, the goal of the cluster B personality parent, or the parent who has the narcissistic personality, they're looking for source suppliers from their child or children for a lifetime. Now, that to me sounds very disgusting and unfair and unfortunate. However, one can learn how to cope and deal and thrive forward past that. So we're going to get into that, of course, further in the live stream. All right. So the cluster B personality and the narcissist, what they usually do is they would abuse their roles as parents, or they misuse their roles as a parent. And most of the time in that household, they will go ahead again. And if they are not successful with at least one child, or maybe a few of their children, with getting them to source supply them, they will go ahead and smear a campaign. And then they will go ahead and possibly character assassinate those children who are not so-called cooperating or getting with the program of supplying him or her. So this is often the case as well. Okay, so let's move on. It is best to discontinue idealizing those who have demonstrated and who may continue to demonstrate toxic, dysfunctional, and abusive behavior patterns. So the narcissist or the cluster B personality. Now we're going to just broaden this and move on to any relationship that you can think of, not just the parent-child relationship. This is any relationship, spousal, lovers or sexual relationships, friends. Now we're going to go ahead and expand it now. Now, when a person chooses to stop idealizing these individuals who have a narcissistic personality or a cluster B personality, this is a game changer. Because once a person can see that the cluster B personality and the narcissist, their behavior is dysfunctional, is toxic. But not only that, they have a personality disorder. So that is not your fault. Okay, that's not my fault. However, it's very interesting how the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they continue to try to guilt trip or try to get others to feel guilty about how they treat him or her. What do I mean by that? The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they like to try and manipulate or shame or guilt others into supplying him or her. Think about this. When the cluster B personality and narcissist, when they are presenting their false self-images, what's the other thing that's taking place? They're manipulating everybody. So if the narcissist and cluster B personality actually revealed to you who they are and what they really stand for, would you really invest in a relationship with him or her? Probably not. So narcissists and cluster B personalities, they have to manipulate other people in order for other people to even be around them. So when they are around other people, they're not being for real. They're being manipulative. They cannot, well, I'm not going to say they cannot, so I'll change my word. They choose not to reveal who they really are and what they really stand for most of the time. This is called them having that mask on. So when the mask slips is usually when there's a potential or actually a perceived threat to their false self-image. And you don't even have to intentionally threaten them for him or her to feel or to think they're being threatened. The false self-image is extremely fragile. Okay, so it takes little to nothing to insult these people and to offend these individuals who have a cluster B personality and a narcissistic personality. So it's like you're walking on eggshells a lot. Okay, so but when a person takes off the rose-colored glasses and they stop idealizing the cluster B personality in the narcissist, it is a true game changer, because this is how they can begin to heal. This is how they can begin to focus on what they need to do in order to thrive forward. So it is best to discontinue idealizing the narcissist, especially after he or she has demonstrated that they have a cluster B personality, which is a personality disorder, and a narcissistic personality, which is a which is a personality disorder. So one simply cannot change anyone else but themselves, yet he or she can choose to become of great influence by demonstrating their personal growth. Those who choose to engage in dysfunctional relationships are showing the capacity to invest in poor quality. Taking the rose-colored glasses off is the best and the first step to interrupting the pattern of dysfunction in a person's life. So this is not to judge or scold anyone. And if I sound very critical, I don't mean to be. This is not my intention. When I state that when a person chooses to invest in a dysfunctional relationship, it shows that they invest in poor quality. This is not me being judgmental. This is just really pointing out how when a person is groomed from childhood, pardon me. Ooh, ooh, I'm so sorry, y'all. So when a person is groomed from childhood to invest in low quality, to invest in dysfunction, this is what's going to continue until he or she takes the rose-colored glasses off and they realize that certain things are not quite right, yet it's not their fault either. I hope that makes sense. So it's like when a person that you're in a relationship with, and they're showing you that they have low morality, okay? They don't hardly have any morals. They don't have a lot of values. They don't have high standards, and they seem to disrespect not only you, but themselves. It's amazing how people who come from childhood trauma, they have been groomed to accept that type of behavior in other people. They've been groomed, they've been taught how to accept low quality, and they usually accept low quality until the behavioral pattern is interrupted. And this usually is the onset of change and transition in that person. So on one hand, you have a person who has a background in dysfunctional relationships. Prior to that, though, when you look in their childhood, you may find that they have been groomed to behave codependently. If they haven't been groomed to behave codependently, they have been groomed to develop a cluster B personality or a narcissistic personality. Now, we're talking about a household that has one or both parents who are NPDs. If both parents are NPDs, you will find that one parent is overt and the other parent is covert narcissist. I have never, not me personally, I've never known two NPDs to be both covert or both overt narcissists. They're usually one being the other, okay? They're not going to exactly be the same because they're going to repel. They're not going to be able to stand each other, okay? So you can have two parents who are NPDs, but usually one would be covert or the other one would be overt. The bottom line is this: when people are taught and trained and groomed to behave codependently, they will accept low quality in people, places, and things. So this is not their fault. So this is why I wanted to point that out. One cannot simply change anyone else, but they can influence if they choose to demonstrate their personal growth. This is one way that you can greatly influence someone else or motivate them or inspire them. Oftentimes, it is a pattern that one may notice within his or her life of dysfunctional relationships, going back as far in their history as their childhood. Along the way, most develop particular behavior patterns and perceptions that support his or her trauma. One may become triggered by some who are not out to harm him or her, simply because what is happening and or being said at the moment reminds him or her of the traumatic event. Unfortunately, what sometimes results are missed opportunities for healthy relationships, what could possibly be a platform for healing. Trauma can influence one to make very poor choices when it pertains to people in general. So we just talked about this, how sometimes when there's a background in childhood trauma, plus, or when you add to that a parent who is a narcissist or a parent who has a clumsy personality and they groom the child in a particular way. Now, when you add all of that up, 9 times out of 10 chances that person is going to have layers of trauma. Now you're talking about complex PTSD. There are many people who have been diagnosed with PTSD, but the DSM-5 does not have a diagnosis criterion for those who have complex or have symptoms of complex PTSD. So the mental health care practitioner, when they diagnose the patient or the client, they have to go by the diagnosis criterion of the DSM-5. So where does that leave someone who have layers of trauma or who are dealing with layers of trauma? There's other things or other solutions for that person, and we'll get into that later. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about or point out right here is that when there is a person who has trauma, they're going to have a particular perception, not only of themselves, but of others and of life in general. So what does that mean? That means that he or she, whenever they interact with other people, if they haven't resolved that trauma, what's going to happen is there's a potential for healthy relationships that may be before him or her. But due to their perception, which is linked to their traumatic childhood or childhood trauma, right? They're going to have missed opportunities for having healthy relationships due to their perception. Example, someone may be engaged in a conversation with you, and he or she may say a particular word that may trigger you, and you're back to the traumatic event again, even though it's actually not happening. But because that person used particular words, or it was a tone in their voice, or it was even a facial expression, and it can actually even be a scent in the air that may trigger the individual as you're speaking to him or her. That person may look like the person that may have initially abused you before, such as the narcissistic personality parent. This person may look just like this person, right? Or it may be the person. It may be the parent. So then you're triggered. So due to the perception that is linked to the traumatic event or being traumatized, this may be a missed opportunity for a healthy relationship to develop with someone who has nothing to do with the trauma in the first place. Okay, I hope I'm not losing you all, but I just wanted to set up that picture because this happens very often. There are many people who have been traumatized that, due to a perception which is linked to them having been traumatized, it causes them to miss opportunities of healthy relationships or developing a healthy relationship with someone. This is one of the reasons why some individuals repeat the scenario of investing in dysfunctional relationships with narcissists and cluster B personalities. This is one of the reasons why, due to the perception, again, which is linked to the fact that they have been traumatized, which is not their fault, by the way. Okay, so I wanted to point that out because this is very this is something that happens very often, and some people end up giving up. That is, investing in healthy relationships. They end up giving up and just saying, oh, I just can't seem to, I can't seem to wake up from this nightmare. Now, I want to share something with you all. I've experienced that before. Certain scenarios that kept popping up over and over again for me. So I know exactly what that feels like. And you do feel like some people do feel like giving up. I was there myself a few years ago, and I just, I was wondering, well, why am I, continuing to experience these same scenarios in my life? What is this about? But I got tired of being sick and tired. And I got tired of experiencing those very painful scenarios in my life. And it just seemed like I was living this nightmare, and I felt like it was really unfair. So been there, done that. All right. So this is something that happens very often. A person, they meet other people, they go out into the world, they may be on the job, they may be trying to pursue a career. So when they're interacting with others, their interpersonal skills may not be on point because they're still having the trauma from childhood that has gone unresolved. This may be a person who's 30 years old. This may be a person who's 20 or 40 or 50 or even, older, right? Or let me change that word. They're more seasoned. Okay. I think we like that word better, right? Not older, more seasoned. But the bottom line is this: regardless of the time that goes by, this individual who has a background in childhood trauma, this particular scenario keeps repeating. And that is, no matter where they go on the planet, no matter who they meet, no matter how many years go by, that scenario is the same, and it's very painful. So some people feel like giving up. They don't know where they can find any solutions, or they don't have the answers. Okay, but anyway, we'll get further into that. We're going to get more into that further in the video. Okay, so I just want to point certain things out first before we start getting into the tools and the resources. Now, some of you are probably already looking at the resources and the references. That's fine and well, but I want to share something else with you today. But again, I want to wait until around the conclusion of the live stream. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes here. I'm going to scroll down my notes. But yes, again, this is something that is very common, and many people have testified and they have shared their testimonies about living that nightmare scenario over and over again, and feeling quite, feeling like they want to give up because they don't have the solutions. They can't seem to find the answers, even though some may go to counselors and therapists. And I'm not saying anything against any counselor or therapist. Matter of fact, I think counseling and therapy is better to have that in your support base than not to have any. But some people, however, some people have testified that even though they have gone to counseling and they have gone to therapists, they still seem to experience that nightmare scenario of no matter who they meet. Sometimes it ends up that the individual is a cluster B personality or a narcissist. So it just seems that that dark cloud just seems to follow them. They didn't start this. This is something that started in their childhood. They didn't start that ripple effect, but it's still going on. Even though now they look up, they're 30 years old, they're 40, they're 50, they're 60, and this scenario is just repeating. And it's kind of like, it feels unfair. Some people may view it as unfair because they didn't start the ripple effect, yet they feel like they're paying for something that they did not start. Okay, so let's get into the behavior patterns that support trauma. Now, some of the behavior patterns are substance abuse, avoidance, escapism, repeating dysfunctional relationships. But again, I want to say something about that dysfunctional relationship. And that is usually when a child is groomed a particular way, and there's particular programmings that are downloaded into their subconscious minds, especially during the first 7 years of his or her life. This is why they also repeat the pattern of investing in dysfunctional relationships, particularly with narcissists and cluster B personalities, or those who have a predatory nature. So even though they have a job, they may be married, they may have children of their own. It just seems like no matter where they go in life and no matter how much time passes, that dark cloud just doesn't go away. All right. So repeating the pattern of investing in dysfunctional relationships supports trauma. Okay. The other thing that supports trauma is alcoholism, promiscuity, gambling, self-mutilation or self-medication, or people who unfortunately they cut themselves. Okay, so all of these things are behavior patterns that support trauma. Now, what do I mean by supporting trauma? What I mean by that is all of these behavior patterns perpetuate the trauma. Okay, it doesn't help it. It makes things a little worse. Now, some people do self-medicate, and I am the last person that can judge. Okay, I'm the last person that can judge in that area. It is very easy for people to turn to self-medication in order to cope and deal with the aftermath of having a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist or cluster B personality. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, due to their tactics to obtain source supply, due to their shenanigans, these are two reasons. There are more reasons, but these are two reasons why the dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist and cluster B personality is not your typical dysfunctional relationship. You have a typical dysfunctional relationship. In other words, it's textbook. You can look it up online. You can type in dysfunctional relationships, or you can go to a book, for mental health, and you will find the textbook description of a dysfunctional relationship. However, you won't find that about a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist or one who has a cluster B personality. This is one that a lot of counselors and therapists still grapple with because it's not your typical dysfunctional relationship. And again, the contrast is due to the fact that the cluster B personality and the narcissist has a personality disorder. They have a cluster B personality, which is found by most mental health care practitioners, practitioners as the most difficult or the most complex of all of the personality disorders. You have cluster A, you have cluster B, you have cluster C. But out of all of them, it is the cluster B personality that is the most complex. So it's very easy for the cluster B personality or one who has a narcissistic personality to go stealth or be missed under the radar. They can go stealth very easily. That means they're not going to be seen on the radar. They're going to go stealth. By a lot of mental health practitioners, mental health care practitioners, they're not going to be able to identify the cluster B personality or one who has a narcissistic personality. Not very easily anyway, because he or she, the narcissist or cluster B personality, they are very good. They're masterminds at going stealth up under the radar when it comes to counselors and therapists. They have interpersonal skills that are very poor. There are two areas that the cluster B personality and the narcissist are chronically dysfunctional in when it comes to interpersonal skills, and that is intimacy and empathy. Those are the two areas that they are chronically dysfunctional in. I'm speaking of the cluster B personality and the narcissist. This is one of the other reasons why they usually go stealth up under the radar when it comes to the mental health care practitioner or the mental health care industry. Okay, so that they're very good at covering their tracks. They're chameleons, for one thing. They're very good at switching up. It's almost like they have a multiple personality. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they're very good at switching up at the drop of a hat at any given time. And this is also due to their false self-image, which is pretty much like a persona of a beast. Okay, it's like it's alive. It's like it's a separate entity in and of itself. The false self-image is the one that's running the show when it comes to the narcissist and the cluster B personality. So all of the shenanigans you see, all of the tactics for source supply that are very diabolical in nature, a lot of those tactics are very diabolical. So when the narcissist and cluster B personality, you see them in action, it's like, my goodness, does this person have a soul? Does this person, what's going on with this person? How can people really behave in this way? So these are all kinds of things that people who live with the narcissist, they see up close and personal. Yet there are a lot of people out in the community or out in the world who have no experience with having a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist or cluster B personality. They don't have a clue. And a lot of them probably would not believe half of the things that happen in the household with the narcissist and cluster B personality. So again, this is no surprise why the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they're very good at covering their tracks. They're very good at going stealth under the radar when it comes to the mental health care practitioners. And they're the last ones that like to go get help anyway. Because after all, the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they think everyone else needs help. They think that they're perfect. They think that they're, if anything, everybody else needs to change for him or her. Okay, it's time for another sip of my green tea. All right. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is still with me. Like I said, I'm going to try not to go over. I'm going to try not to go a very long time. So, okay, let's go ahead and get into. And again, please, if you have any questions, place those in all caps, and I will try my best to get to your questions around the conclusion of this live stream. And please, by all means, reach out to me via email. I will be checking my emails tonight. Okay, so please send out any questions that you may not feel comfortable with displaying on the chat. I certainly understand. Please send them to my email. Okay, now, one of the adverse effects of being involved with a narcissist or those with a cluster B personality is that he or she has totally given up on investing in positive relationship with others. Okay, so we got into that already. Okay, so this is something that usually occurs over and over, no matter how hard someone may try, to have a healthy relationship. Now, I'm not saying all this to discourage anyone. I'm just laying out what many people have testified. And I'm also laying out some of the things that I've experienced myself. I've gone through this. I had my dark period where it's like, no matter how hard I tried, it's like, oh my goodness, here's another cluster B personality. Okay, it's like you can't get away. Okay, and I've learned that this is directly linked to a perception and a thought pattern that I had. So I'll get into that a little bit deeper. But yes, this is usually a behavior pattern. And there's also linked to that a perception and a thought pattern that one has, which would ensure that he or she will continue to invest in a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist and a cluster B personality. It can be a different place, basically the same scenario, different face, different place, same nightmarish scenario. Okay, this happens a lot. Therefore, many questions, concerns, and issues go unresolved. pardon me, I just skipped a sentence. Okay, narcissists and those with the cluster personality lack the ability to take responsibility for his or her actions, emotions, and state of consciousness. So, okay, therefore, many questions, concerns, and issues do go unresolved. Okay, I've been there, done that. Okay, there was a particular cluster B personality that I knew years ago. They decided to abandon the relationship. Okay, now I want everybody to notice what I just stated. Today, I no longer look at it as that person leaving me. In other words, that's such a defeatist and victim mentality. They did something to me. Absolutely not. They abandoned the relationship. That's a very, and for me, that's a very powerful way to look at it. That is me maintaining my personal power instead of giving it over to that particular cluster B personality. They didn't do anything to me. They abandoned the relationship. What I went through or what I experienced due to their poor choice or their choice of abandoning the relationship is another story. Okay, but I will say this. The reason why I stated or broke that down to you all is because that is one way that I can demonstrate how to change your perception, and also with that, to interrupt a particular behavior pattern. What's the behavior pattern? Repeating, investing in a relationship or a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist. That's the behavior pattern. Okay, so we want to interrupt that. So, what is the perception or the thought pattern? Instead of me perceiving that particular part of my life as the cluster B personality doing something to me, no, I've switched that around. I've turned that around. I've changed that. So instead of perceiving myself as a victim in that, I choose to interrupt the behavior pattern by perceiving that particular incident a different way, which empowers me and helps me to maintain my personal power. It may sound a little difficult to do, and it is challenging at first to do, but it can be done. A person can interrupt a particular behavior pattern by also changing their perception about something or an event. And not only that, when they do both things, change their perception, they interrupt the behavior pattern, and they're also maintaining their personal power. So they're not having a victim mentality anymore. They're not looking at themselves as a loser in that scenario. This is also one way to interrupt that nightmarish scenario happening over and over. That is, each and every time you have a relationship, it's a cluster B personality. This can interrupt that particular pattern or scenario. It can interrupt that simply by choosing to change your perception, change your mind. Nobody is doubting and no one's refuting or debating that a particular incident that may have been traumatic occurred. Nobody's debating that. The incident occurred, but it's the way you perceive it. It's the way that you look at it that will help you to break a particular dysfunctional behavior pattern. Change your mind, you change your thoughts. Changing your thoughts and your mind changes your actions. Okay, so this is something that took me a little practice to do. And every now and then I still slip up. I'm not going to even lie. Sometimes I still slip up, but it's something that I'm glad that I incorporated into my support base and in my very life. Okay, and that is to change my perception, choosing to change my perception, regardless of what the event is, regardless if it's traumatic or not, choosing to perceive it a particular way. Therefore, when a person changes their mind, changing their thoughts, their actions usually follow. And I do remember, again, that particular incident. And I used to think that, oh, this person did something to me. And I was sad. I was angry. And so I owned my sadness. I owned my anger and I went through it. The best way to get through something is just to get through it. At first, I was afraid to feel my anger because I thought I would be out of control. And I thought that would be me being very weak. But I learned how to, with practice and with some time, I learned how to own my emotions and to balance it with critical thinking. So instead of allowing the pendulum to swing all the way over to my emotional side, or all the way over to my analytical side or my thinking side, I chose to practice and teach myself and learn how to have that pendulum right in the middle, as much in the middle as possible. This way I am balancing what I think with what I feel. And I'm balancing how I think with how I feel. I balance it. So that's where your critical thinking and, emotional discipline and all that stuff comes into play. And we are also going to get into that. Okay. So it's about balancing pretty much. So balance what you think with what you feel and balance how you think and how you feel. It's the how that's very important. It's not just the what, it's the how. So how do you feel? Angry because this person abandoned the relationship. Okay. So what do you think about that? See, that was hard for me to do for a long time because usually I stayed in my feelings. Okay. I stayed in my ego, but with some practice. So instead of, just asking myself, okay, how do I feel? Okay, I'm pissed off. I'm angry. This person abandoned the relationship. I will swing the pendulum over towards what do I think about that? You see how you're not staying in your feelings when you do that? So what do you think about it? It's not just how do you feel and what do you feel, but it's how do you think and what do you think? So what did I think about that? Well, I thought the person didn't know how to treat me or anyone else. They were very disrespectful because they did not take the responsibility to at least talk to me about what or why they were not happy in the relationship. Next thing I knew, they just abandoned the relationship. They didn't take responsibility by letting me know, okay, well, this is what I don't like about the relationship, or this is why I'm ending the relationship, whatever, right? So they decided to just abandon the relationship. So what did I think about that? Well, I thought that they were being disrespectful. That's what I thought about it. So now let's swing the pendulum back over to how do I feel about it? And what do I feel? Okay, so I felt sad. I felt angry as well. So what did I feel? Not just what did I think, but what did I feel? Well, I felt lost. I felt not only angry and hurt or sad, I felt lost. That person abandoned the relationship. Yet I learned how to not take the victim mentality and say they did that to me. No, they made a poor choice. That was the other thing that I thought about what they did. Not only were they being disrespectful and irresponsible, but I also thought that they were not making the best choice at that moment. But here's something else that's interesting. What I had to learn was that that person also had a story. They also had a life. So they had the right to make the choice, even though I didn't agree with the choice and I didn't agree with how they did what they did. Right. So when we balance what we think and what we feel, and when we balance that with how we think, with how we feel, it's called mindfulness. That's a balance right there. That's quite the game changer. and this ensures that you maintain your personal power. So I just wanted to share that little bit of history with you all to demonstrate how I learned how to not look at myself as a victim so much and not give my personal power away, especially to somebody like the cluster B personality or a narcissist. Okay, so I hope I didn't, I know I can be long-winded sometime, but anyway, I think you all got the picture there. Okay, so when narcissists and cluster B personality, when they abandon relationships like that, many questions and concerns and issues do go unresolved, because the other thing that they do is they leave a lot of unanswered questions. Another thing that narcissists and cluster B personality do, they leave things, they leave a lot of broken relationships behind, and they just go from one person to the other. Now, this is a behavior pattern of theirs, which is not anyone else's fault. This is something that the narcissist and cluster B personality, they do a lot. Okay, so don't be surprised that if you were to look at their history and you find that they have a lot of broken relationships in their past. So they like to recycle romantic relationships. They like to recycle exes. So they intentionally, the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they do this on purpose. They leave the relationship broken. They leave things unresolved. They leave things or questions unanswered. Well, they do that with a purpose. It's intentional. So that way, when they come back around to the source supplier that they decided to abandon the relationship with, they're hoping that that person still loves and cares for him or her. They're hoping that that person will still look to them for closure. So the narcissist and cluster B personality, they figure, okay, this person is still pining away, over me, or they still want something from me because I denied them that in the first place. Okay, so some people may be thinking, well, gosh, how can they have, the nerve to do that? But we're talking about the cluster B personality. We're talking about the narcissist. They don't have any remorse. So most people normally wouldn't return to a relationship that they have left broken in that regard. First of all, they probably wouldn't do that because they would take responsibility of why they're ending the relationship, or what you call a normal breakup. Okay, but we're talking about the narcissist and the cluster B personality. So what they do is they will go back to those broken relationships, because initially, the narcissist and cluster B personality, when they walk away from those relationships, leaving things unresolved, their intention is to return back to the relationship, because they don't want to take the responsibility of ending the relationship. That takes responsibility to stand and say, I'm ending this relationship because A, B, and C. Narcissists and cluster B personalities, they don't do that. They dodge and they avoid responsibility. A person has to take responsibility when there's a normal breakup or when there's an interruption in the relationship. Narcissists and cluster B personalities, again, they don't do that. So when they walk away and abandon the relationship, their idea is to return to that relationship. So they're taking the other party for granted, that he or she will always be there to source supply them. Sounds horrible, I think. Okay, sounds horrible. I'm laughing because when I look back on it now, it's a trip. It's a head trip. And it's like, wow, how can somebody do something like that? But again, we're talking about the narcissist and the cluster B personality. And most of the time when they do abandon the relationship, again, their thought is to go ahead and return to that relationship. Sometimes they won't, but in a lot of cases they will. And sometimes it takes years. And I'm not just speaking of a romantic relationship here. It can also be a family relationship, a friendship, a business partnership, whatever ship that you can think of, the narcissist and the cluster personality, they have a behavior pattern of leaving relationships unresolved. Or put it like this, they're broken. So a lot of things haven't been said or done in that relationship. And the narcissist likes it that way because this helps them to dip and dodge any responsibility of why the relationship went disarray. When the bottom line is they abandoned the relationship. And if they had any honest bone in their body, right, they would admit that. They would take full ownership of that because they're responsible for that. No one else can make someone stay in a relationship when they're just not happy in that relationship. But what normal people do, and when there's a normal breakup or when the relationship is over, normally there will be some sort of discussion or at least an understanding of why this relationship is ending. But when it's a narcissist and a cluster personality, this does not happen. Okay. All right. And on that note, I'm going to take another sip of this green tea. All right. Okay. So signs that narcissists look for in ex-romantic partners. Now we're going to shift over to the sexual relationships and the romantic relationships, whether this is a marriage or not. Okay, so signs that narcissists look for in ex-romantic partners. So this is when they want to come back. Usually narcissists and cluster personalities, they like to leave a lot of relationships undone. So they have a way to wiggle themselves back in. Or they have some sort of reason to come back to the person because they know that the other individual in the romance loved him or her. And they have some questions that they would like answered, and it's very diabolical how the narcissist and the cluster personality, they do this over and over when it comes to their sexual and romantic partners. They like to leave things unsaid and undone. So when they come back, the ex-romantic partner still is carrying a torch for him or her, or so they think. All right, so signs that narcissists look for in an ex-romantic partner. They look for insecurity and they look for desperation. They look for high achievements. Okay, so since the narcissist has been gone, has this person, they may have had these things before, but have they achieved or have they increased their capital or their finances? Do they have a better career? Or are they business owners? Okay, do they have a higher education, such as a master's or some sort of college education or a degree or a certification that will bring them more capital and maybe will have them living in the upper echelons of society? Okay, this is what the narcissist looks for because they know if this person is a high achiever, then he or she will also look good with this person on their arm. The narcissist and cluster personality, I know this sounds disgusting, but they look for people to be involved with that will also make them look good in society, regardless of what they have achieved. So the narcissist and the cluster personality can be a person with a six-figure income or better. They still look for ex-partners to either match that or surpass that. Okay, so they're looking for high achievers. They're looking for, they also look for those who have a capacity to love, those who have a capacity to be understanding, those who have a capacity to forgive all trespasses without requesting foreclosure. So I want to stop there with that one because I think that's a highlightable one. The capacity to forgive all trespasses without requesting foreclosure. Now, a lot of us who have made the mistake, and this is the way I look. This is the way I look at it. It's a mistake to look to the narcissist or the cluster personality for closure or to help you with closure. They're not going to do that. Because when you look at the fact that they are irresponsible in the relationship in the first place, or they were irresponsible in the relationship, they're not going to assist anyone to gain closure. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they have to have the drama and the chaos. They have to have the shenanigans, because otherwise they don't get to feed off of the energy field of others. So they have to have the drama and the chaos and the conflict. The conflicts cannot afford to resolve any conflict, because they don't eat if they do. And this is another way of them taking full responsibility for their part of why the relationship went disarray or ended or appeared to end. Narcissists and cluster personality, they do not take responsibility for how they show up in a person's life and what they have chosen to contribute to that life. They don't do this because that takes responsibility, that takes integrity, and a few other wonderful attributes, okay, or characteristics, which narcissists do not have, okay? They don't have those. All right, so the capacity to forgive all trespasses. Okay, so they're looking for a person who is able to forgive, yet they don't know why. They're not very clear on why they're forgiving. They're not very clear on whether or not it's practical to forgive. They're not looking at whether or not it is something that will benefit them at all to forgive the narcissist or the cluster personality. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they have a strong sense of entitlement. So they tend not to appreciate when someone forgives him or her. They tend to have a strong sense of entitlement for others to forgive him or her. I hope that makes sense. For example, there's someone that you may know right now that has a cluster personality, or they have a narcissistic personality, and something occurred in the relationship. It could be past, it could be current, but something occurred that may have caused you some grief. It may have vexed you. It may have caused you trauma, right? Okay, so the narcissist and the cluster personality, they remain unremorseful for whatever that thing was that happened in the relationship. They're not taking any responsibility. Here's what's really interesting. Whether or not you choose to forgive him or her, the narcissist cares not. Doesn't matter. The only thing they care about is whether or not you're forgiving them or not supplies them or not. That's all they care about. So if you choose to forgive, the narcissist and the cluster personality, due to their strong sense of entitlement, first of all, they will not appreciate you forgiving them. They will not appreciate it. The only thing that they're searching around and sniffing around for is whether or not you're forgiving him or her will supply him or her. That's it. So it doesn't matter to them which way you go, whether you forgive or you don't forgive. Okay, now I'm not suggesting that you do either or. So, pardon me if I sound like I'm trying to influence whichever way you go. That is not my intention. I'm only pointing out how narcissists and cluster personalities tend to view the concept of forgiveness. Many narcissists and cluster personalities, they will use their religion to manipulate others to forgive him or her. Now, that's another topic. That's another video. So I'm not going to get deep into that. I will say this. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they will do and or say whatever is necessary to get the supply from you. Meaning, if you're leaning towards not forgiving him or her, if the narcissist and the cluster personality sees that that's not going to supply them, they will manipulate and influence. They will attempt to manipulate and influence you to forgive him or her. However, if you're leaning towards forgiving him or her, yet they see it does not supply him or her, the narcissist and the cluster B personality, wait for it, they will attempt to influence and manipulate you not to forgive him or her. Sounds wild, but a lot of you already know that's what it is. Because the bottom line is this: the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they want the source supply. They need that source supply in order to make sure that their false self-image remains alive, well and kicking. So if you are forgiving the narcissist and it does not supply him or her, they will try to get you to not forgive them. So they will do all types of things that may be very ugly and diabolical. This is if they're going to be around you or not. But if they choose to not be around you, well, that's another story. However, those who choose to forgive or not to forgive the narcissist, because it's going to come up anyway, that concept is going to come up. Every relationship that a person has, even the best of relationships, the concept of forgiveness will come up. Because people, you know, when we interact with each other, we're dealing with different vibrational frequencies. We're dealing with different personalities. We're dealing with different spirits and consciousness, levels of consciousness, and all these things. We're very complex. We human beings are very complex creatures. Okay, so when we interact with each other, even the best relationships will not be that simple. Naturally, there's going to be conflicts. Naturally, challenges will occur. Issues will occur. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they're not very well, they're not very good at emotionally regulating. Meaning, when challenges come up in the relationships, they're gonna tuck their tails and run. Pretty much. Okay. So I really wanted to point that out. I didn't mean to be long-winded about that, but I really wanted to point that out because the capacity to forgive all trespasses without requesting foreclosure is a big one when it comes to the narcissist. They have to make sure that their ex-partners are able to forgive. They have the capacity to forgive. And again, this all goes back to whether or not this will supply the narcissist or not. Narcissists, this also goes into how they like or prefer the negative attention over positive attention. They like positive attention, but not as much. Some cluster B personality and narcissists, they really seem to get off on the negative attention you pay him or her because they get more supply out of it. Willingness to give the benefit of the doubt. That's another big one. So the narcissist and the cluster B personality are looking for ex-partners who will give them the benefit of the doubt. This is so they can keep lying to him or her, baiting them for more source supply, setting the trap for them to fall into so they can end up in the sunken place. And this way they get more supply from him or her. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they like to drink tears and they like to take a pound of flesh out of their source suppliers. This way they continue to feed, and the source suppliers are in the sunken place. They're bewitched. They're under a spell when it comes to the narcissist and the cluster B personality. This is unfortunate, but this often happens when the rose-colored glasses have not come off. So I want to go back to the capacity to love. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they're not looking for ex-partners to love them, not for the reason that you may think. They're looking for the capacity to love. They're looking for that ex-partner to have the capacity to love, not to actually love him or her. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, again, they're looking for the source supply. Whatever and whomever will source supply them. That's all they're looking for. They're loyal to their false self-image. So the capacity to love is another big one. So when the narcissist and the narcissistic personality looks at the ex, when they're looking at the ex-romantic partner, they're looking to see whether or not that person still loves him or her. They don't care if they really love him or her or not. They don't really care about that, because they're going to exploit the capacity for the person to love them. So if let's just say, for example, you're the ex-partner, right? You're the ex-romantic partner. Or if you don't want to think of yourself as an example, think about somebody else. Okay. So say there's the ex-partner, and this cluster personality, they want to see if you still love him or her. And this goes for the fellas too. Okay. This is not a gender thing. This is not a female thing. All right. This is either gender. So the narcissist and the cluster personality who is looking to get back with the ex, they're looking to see if that ex still carries a torch for him or her. They're looking for that because they want to exploit it. The narcissist and the cluster personality has vowed not to love. So they don't care whether or not somebody loves them. Not in that regard, because they're not going to try to form a relationship with anyone to have intimacy. They don't care about that. Intimacy is not going to happen with a narcissist or cluster B personality. So they're looking to see if the person has the capacity to love, so they can exploit that capacity to love. All right. So this is what the narcissist is looking for. Their capacity to be understanding. All is the capacity to love, the capacity to be understanding, and the capacity to forgive. All of that really goes up under one umbrella. It really does. Whether or not, and the umbrella is whether or not that there's still feelings for the narcissist or not. This is even a family member. Say this, a parent and a child. A parent has abandoned the child. The child hasn't seen the narcissistic personality parent for, let's just say, 20 years. The narcissistic personality parent is going to look and see if that child who may be 18, 19, 25 now, or 30 years old, they're going to be looking to see if they have the capacity to love. They're going to be looking to see if they have the capacity to be understanding. They're going to be looking for the capacity to see if that person will forgive him or her or not. It's really not about the love and the understanding and the forgiveness that gets the narcissist going. No, they want to see if they can exploit all of that. So it's almost like they want to build you up just to tear you down so they can get the source supply. It's very diabolical when you look at it. High tolerance for dysfunctional and abusive behavior. See, all of these signs go together, really. So the narcissist is looking for the ex to have a high tolerance for dysfunction and abuse. Okay, they're looking to see if they're going to take it or not. They're looking to see if they will be reactionary. So a person who's reactionary, they're going to be supplying the narcissist a lot. And sometimes they may not be able to see that. So the narcissist and cluster B personality, pardon me, the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they're looking to see if they can get somebody to be reactionary or to become reactionary. Because as soon as a person becomes reactionary, their energy field is open. It's like open season. The narcissist and the cluster B personality will tap into the person's energy field while they are reactionary. They're vulnerable at that point. However, a person who chooses to respond instead of being reactionary, they are then changing the game. It's game over for the narcissist, and it's a game changer for the person who is choosing to not to become reactionary, but to respond. There's many ways a person can respond and maintain their personal power, whereas it pertains to the narcissist and the cluster personality. Many ways of doing that. When a person is in their feelings and when they are in their egos, they will not be able to see how to do that because they're blinded by their emotions. They're blinded by their egos. And this is exactly the way the narcissist wants it. The narcissist and narcissistic personality, they are emotionally immature. They're like overgrown babies. Okay, they're like babies in a 40-year-old body, or babies or children in a 40-year-old body, or a 50-year-old body, or a 60-year-old body, or whatever the age may be that they're supposed to be in adulthood, but they behave like children. And emotionally, they remain that way, no matter how old, or I keep wanting to say how old, anyway, no matter how seasoned, okay, they become, no matter what the age is. So the person who's dealing with the narcissist and a narcissistic personality, they absolutely leave them starving when they choose to respond instead of react. And this is not easy. I've had plenty of times that I practiced this. It can be mastered. It can be achieved. It can be accomplished. It takes practice. It takes time. So be patient with yourself. Sometimes you will slip. I've slipped sometimes and became reactionary. And I'm like, daggone it. I'm like, gosh, and I knew better, But again, my ego and my emotions got the better of me. So there were a few times that I slipped. Don't beat yourself up for that. You're human. I'm human. But I just want to forewarn you, when the narcissist and the narcissistic personality, when they see that they are successful with getting you to become reactionary, he or she will continue to do that. They're not going to stop doing that because their false self-image is what they're loyal to, and it must survive. When a person chooses responsiveness or to be responsible, first of all, they are being responsible for themselves, which maintains their own personal power. It keeps them grounded, and it keeps them standing, and it keeps the narcissist starving, because then they are maintaining their personal power. The narcissist and the narcissistic personality, they cannot deal with people who do that. They can't do it because they don't get to eat. So choosing to become responsive, first of all, ensures that you are taking responsibility for yourself, and you're not giving over your personal power to the narcissist and narcissistic personality. Easier said than done. Like I said, I've been there, done that. Okay, so again, reactionary versus responsiveness. Very, very powerful. Low self-esteem and a lack of confidence. This is what the narcissist and the narcissistic personality looks for in ex-partners that they're trying to recycle. Okay, so they're looking for the low self-esteem and the lack of confidence. Now, a person who is a high achiever doesn't mean that they don't have insecurities. This is what the narcissist and the narcissistic personality is looking for. So on the outside, when they're couples, let's just say they got back together, the narcissist and the ex-partner got back together. So on the outside, they look like the power couple. They look very good together. They look like they're so well together, right? This is what the narcissist and narcissistic personality would like. They're about the appearance. Behind closed doors, let me not skip. Okay. I wanted to say something else about the high achievements. So this person looks good, okay, out in public. Behind closed doors, the narcissist and the narcissistic personality will exploit their capacity to love. They will exploit their capacity to be understanding. They will exploit their capacity to forgive. So all of the wonderful things about this ex, the narcissist and the narcissistic personality will exploit that behind closed doors. In public, they will look like the power couple. And this is what the narcissist and narcissistic personality is aiming for. So a high achiever is somebody who looks very good on paper and out in public. I don't mean necessarily physically. I mean that they are living in the upper echelons of society. They may be the pillars of their communities. They volunteer. They have a college degree. They have a six-figure or better income, or they make good money. They rub elbows with very influential people. I think you all see the picture here, right? So it looks all good on the outside, but behind closed doors, all you know what is breaking loose. And this is what the narcissist wants. This is what they're looking for. They're looking to see any signs of it going their way so they can have the X their way, which is very diabolical, in my opinion. So building a strong support base is very important. The support base is to be designed to provide effective tools and coping skills in order to heal and thrive forward past narcissistic abuse, childhood trauma, and dysfunctional relationships. The support base is an excellent positive outlet for expressing emotions while teaching critical thinking skills due to having the experience of dysfunctional relationships with narcissists and those with a cluster personality. So that strong support base is very important. But how effective is that support base? That's very important as well. So what's a strong, effective support base? We're going to get into that. Okay, so one thing that strong, effective support base will have are tools that are very effective. A person can use right now. They don't have to wait. They can use these tools right now. Okay, so let's get into the signs of an effective, strong support base. You are being challenged to change dysfunctional behavior patterns. If that's not happening, you have a weak support base. You're supposed to be challenged. You're already changing. This is one of the reasons why that dysfunctional relationship is very uncomfortable to you. The dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist is very uncomfortable because you are transitioning. You are changing. Yet some people try to share the same space with an oppositional energy. Okay, it's energy. The narcissist, we're all comprised of energy. So the narcissist has a spirit or energy, and they're vibrating on a particular frequency that doesn't resonate with you. This is another reason why you're very uncomfortable in that relationship with him or her. You're transitioning out of that. Yet some people choose to maintain and remain in the sunken place by staying in that relationship. I'm not judging. I'm just pointing that out. You are being challenged to change dysfunctional behavior patterns. That's what an effective, strong support base is supposed to do for you. Second sign, you are being encouraged to practice personal boundaries, emotional discipline, assertion, and self-preservation. So 4 things are going on here. You're practicing personal boundaries, emotional discipline, assertion, and self-preservation. So what are all 4 of those things? What's going on? You have a strong defense against the narcissist and the cluster personality. They're not going to be able to penetrate your energy field when you are practicing personal boundaries, emotional discipline, assertion, and self-preservation. That's a strong defense. The narcissist and the cluster personality, once again, it's going to be very challenging for him or her to penetrate that or to knock that defense down. So your strong, effective support base is to encourage you to continue to do that so you can thrive forward and maintain your personal power. Okay, so you are being encouraged to practice personal boundaries. Practicing personal boundaries, emotional discipline, assertion, and self-preservation all equal to your practicing mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness will ensure that you maintain your personal power. Maintaining your personal power will boost your self-confidence to continue to thrive forward and to focus on your own overall well-being. and also to commit to your own healing process. The narcissist does not fit into any of that. The cluster B personality does not fit into any of that. Now, let's get into the examples of a strong support base. Pardon me. Let's get into the last sign of an effective, strong support base. You begin to see the evidence of your personal growth and your support base expanding. When you are growing, your support base is to expand. So personal growth equals support base expanding. If your support base right now, whatever you have as a support base, whomever is a part of that, if all three of these things are not going on, you have a weak link in your support base. It's a weak link somewhere. So it may be time to reevaluate your support base, or maybe to add, either to take away or add something to your support base, or a particular person or particular individuals. It may be time to just, do a little evaluation or some inventory to check out and see how you can make your support base a little bit more effective and strong. But you will begin to see the evidence of your personal growth and your support base expanding. So this should be happening simultaneously. If you're growing, your support base will expand naturally. Now let's get into the examples of a strong support base. You can have a mentor, a clergy, a counselor, support groups, social groups, therapists, and seminars. All of these are all of these are part of a strong support base. If you don't have a mentor, you can have a life coach, maybe. Okay, if you don't have a life coach, maybe there's a clergyman or a clergywoman that you confide in. If you don't have that, maybe you can go to a counselor, or maybe you're going to a counselor, or maybe you have more than one type of counselor. There's several types of counselors. There's several types of therapists, like an occupational therapist. Occupational therapists, what they do is help you get back out into the workforce. Some people who have been involved with narcissists and cluster B personalities, they have lost some hope. They have, and their confidence has taken a hit. Their self-esteem has taken a hit. So they don't feel very good about going out into the workforce anymore. They haven't been working for a while. There's several reasons why some of us are not working anymore, but that's another video. Some of us who have been involved with the narcissist and cluster B personality, our confidence levels and our self-esteem has taken a hit, meaning some people may not have been working for a little while. So an occupational therapist will help you to gain that confidence, or to regain that confidence to go out into the workforce again, make yourself a little extra money. So that way, some of you who may be financially abused right now by the narcissist and cluster B personality, you can change all that around. Okay, so the support groups and the social groups, pretty self-explanatory. That's part of a strong support base. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. Social groups, some of them are large, some of them are smaller. There's so many ways of looking into social groups. There's a website called meetups.com. I go to that website sometime. There's people who come together. They may go bowling. They may go out to a smoothie bar. They may go out to an actual bar. They may go to a club. They may go to a lounge. They may go see a live band. They may go to a concert. But the bottom line is this: a strong support base can have a social group in it. Okay, so you can do a social group. You can do a support group. I would advise researching narcissistic abuse, dysfunctional relationships, narcissism. Just do a lot of research before joining a support group that advertises that they can help people support or provide support for narcissism or narcissistic abuse. Because some of these support groups, they have false advertisement. They don't know anything about how to help those or support those who have had personal experiences with having dysfunctional relationship with narcissists and custody personalities. This is one of the other reasons why some people have lost hope and they have given up on having a support base. The first step to a support base is to do a blueprint. That means look at where you are right now. Where are you in your healing? Are you coping or are you healing? All coping mechanisms are not necessarily constructive, right? Some of them are destructive. But again, I'm not judging. When a person is looking at seminars, there's all types of seminars. People can become financially literate or more financially literate. We talked about financial abuse that a lot of narcissists, unfortunately, they do to their spouses or their lovers or their romantic partners. So going to a seminar to become more financially literate is a game changer. This is one way a person can help themselves come out of the rut that they're in. This is one way that they can become a problem solver, as far as like saying, well, I can't, this person may be a person who feels like and thinks that they have to stay in that relationship due to a lack of finances. They have to stay with the narcissist and custody personality because they lack finances. I understand that circumstance. I understand that situation. Going to a seminar to become financially literate is one way that the person can resolve their own problem. I hope that makes sense. It's like, okay, if I know a little bit more about money and finances and capital or credit, how things work, as far as like finances, then I can arm myself with more knowledge. And then I can begin to see more opportunities to change my current situation, to change my current circumstances. Examples of a strong support base. Again, mentor, clergy, counselor, support groups, social groups, therapists, and seminars. There's so much more, but I just wanted to name those few. Tools of an effective, strong support base: mindfulness skills, healthy lifestyle, effective communication, interpersonal skills, which the narcissist and custody personality lacks terribly. Okay, they're not very good with the interpersonal skills. Peaceful environment. Wherever you may go or whoever you are interacting with, as far as like your support base, there ought to be some sort of peace. For instance, if you're going to a counselor, if you're going to a therapist, you're going to a doctor, you're going to a clergyman or a clergywoman, or wherever you may go, you go to their office. If their office is full of clutter, okay, you may want to make a U-turn. You may want to reevaluate, making that a part of your support base. There should be a peaceful environment. So if their office or wherever you go to see him or her, if it's full of clutter and it's not clean, it's not orderly, that's a pretty good sign that that person, they also have a lot of clutter in their life, or maybe even in their minds. Think about all the clients that they see besides you. They have a lot of clients that they see. So they may not really be into their work. They may not be dedicated to their work of supporting others. Hope that makes sense. So anyway, wherever you go or whomever you're engaged with, should be some sort of peace around that. So it should be a peaceful environment. And just think about the fact that some of you have gone through trauma already. A lot of those relationships didn't have any peace. So why would you go to somebody who doesn't provide you peace or help you to maintain the peace? You're sharing a lot of information about yourself. Should be some sort of peace around that in the environment. Practice safety. Is anyone encouraging you to practice safety? The narcissist and the custody personality, some of their tactics can be very diabolical. So a person may not always feel safe, especially if they're living with this person. They may not feel safe. So whomever And whatever your support base may be, there should be some encouragement and also some advice to practice safety. And I'll say this today to everyone who's watching, or tonight, wherever you are, please practice safety. Practice, especially if you're living with the narcissist and cluster B personality, practice safety. And if you have little ones, if you have children, please, by all means, practice safety. Safety first, because that's going to go right into practicing discretion or practicing having good judgment. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they will make threats. Sometimes they will make good on those threats. So you have to use some judgment and some discernment, right? Or discretion, and just practice safety, because that person, they may make good on those threats. You don't want to jump out there and just, do or say something to intentionally or purposely. I can't even say the word purpose, but anyway, on purpose, right? On purpose, you don't want to have them at the defense. So practice safety. Critical thinking, emotional discipline, conflict resolution skills, time management, and financial literacy. We talked about the financial literacy, but I want to jump to the time management. The way a person spends their money is usually how they spend their time. It correlates. So if the narcissist and the cluster B personality is financially abusing you, just kind of flip that around a little bit and look at how you invest your time. They have their hand, or the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they have access to your finances. Well, that's not right. Yet you don't know anything about their financial situation. They're keeping it a secret. A lot of cluster B personality and narcissists, they do that. So that's financial abuse. But this is the scenario I want to make as an example. Look at, just turn that around a little bit and look at how you spend your time by investing in a dysfunctional relationship. See, that's a poor investment. The way a person spends their time is how they will spend their money. The way the person manages their time is how they will manage their finances. I'm not saying this to scold anyone. I'm speaking from love here, okay? I've made some mistakes in that area too. This is why I'm speaking so candidly about it. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they demand your finances and your time. They demand both. So this is often why they have access to both. They have access to your time and they have access to your finances. It is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not an accident. The narcissist sets it up that way so they can continue to be supplied, so they can continue to make sure that their false self-image survives. So time management is a game changer. You go to your appointments, as far as like a seminar, a therapist, a counselor, even to church or to the synagogue, or wherever the clergy may be, right? You go to your support groups, you may go to a social group. All of this is time, is scheduled. You have appointments for this. How important is your healing? How important is it that you thrive forward? If you're going to a counselor, if you're going to a therapist, if you're going to a doctor, or wherever, whomever or whatever is a part of your support base, you're investing time in that, kudos to you and bravo. Okay? I salute you on that. Okay, because that's how you're showing that you are investing your time wisely, and your finances will follow, because it's going to come naturally to you to take care of yourself financially. That's going to come naturally to you. If you're managing your time with wisdom and stewardship, your finances will follow. You will also be a good steward as far as like your finances go. You will also spend your time wisely. You will invest your time wisely. I hope that makes sense. This is something that I learned quite a while ago. And I started to put that into practice. And so today I'm happy to say that I see some results of that I'm very pleased with. So the narcissist and the cluster B personality, I say all of that to say this: the narcissist and the cluster B personality, as long as you are invested emotionally in a dysfunctional relationship with him or her, they're going to demand your time and your money. Let's move on. 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. There's a few things. Actually, you can look in the description box below and find the links to the 5 stages of grief. When it comes to the 5 stages of grief, due to emotional neglect in childhood, the 5 stages of grief can be interrupted, or a person will not be able to fully engage in the grieving process due to their emotional childhood neglect or childhood trauma. So let's get into that for a second. Let's get into that. How is everybody? All right? Everybody's doing good? All right. So let's get into the what can cause the interruption of the 5 stages of grief. Due to childhood emotional neglect, difficulty accepting support. This is what a person can run into when they're trying to go through the grieving process. Challenges accepting anger. Now, I want to stop right there with that one. This one was real big. This was a big one for me. Accepting my anger and working through my anger. Okay, so challenges accepting anger is something that will interrupt working through the 5 stages of grief. Okay, so another one is moving past denial. That's going to be very difficult to do. Denial, I say denial in most cases is a natural thing to do. It's a natural defense. And that is denial. It's a natural defense, especially when something is very traumatic and very disturbing. When a person experiences something that is very traumatic and disturbing, and it's very hard to get past it. So denial is a natural go-to. It's a natural defense, but it can be very dangerous and damaging to the person if they remain stuck in denial. State of depression lasts a long time. So a person can end up in a state of depression, but they can remain in a sunken place for a long time. So these are just some of the challenges a person runs into when they are facing the 5 stages of grief. Okay, so it can become overwhelming for some to balance dysfunctional relationships with attempting to build a strong support base in order to thrive past the effects of narcissistic abuse, childhood trauma, and dysfunctional relationships. One actually can counsel out to others. So a person who has one foot in a support base, whether that's going to a counselor, a therapist, or whatever they're doing to maintain, right? Whatever they're doing, that's their support base, or whomever is involved in that. So they have one foot in that. So that's their foot in their present going towards their future. Then they have the other foot in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist. Okay, I know some of us would like to put that foot somewhere else, okay? When it comes to the narcissist and cluster B personality, right? But anyway, I just want to paint out the visual for you. You have one foot in the relationship with the narcissist and the cluster B personality. So that's your past. That's not going to help you move or thrive forward. That really doesn't have too much to do with your present, because the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they are soaking up your presence, okay? Or your time, in that present moment. They want a lot of your time and your energy. They want everything that you have to give. So you can't even be present in your presence. You can't even be present in your life right now. So when you have one foot in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist, I was trying to, because my brain is on something else. Because I know some people, they want to put their foot up, you know what? Okay. So anyway, the narcissist and the cluster personality is in the dysfunctional relationship with you, right? So that's, you can't move forward. You have one foot there, but then you have one foot that's going towards, or supposedly going towards, your future, because you're working your support base. That's going to stretch you in two different places at the same time. That's not really helping. I do want to say this. A person who is in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist and cluster B personality due to a particular circumstance or situation which renders him or her having to remain in that relationship. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying I understand that there's circumstances and there's situations where that person is not able to physically leave the relationship. So let's just say that's the case. I would absolutely advocate that that person continues to work their support base, continue to go to the counseling, continue to go to the clergy, continue to go to the therapist, whatever it is that's a part of their support base. Keep working that and look to expand it, because keeping yourself in line with that will increase your chances of meeting other people that can help you. Therefore, you won't have to stay in that relationship with the narcissist and cluster personality unless you choose to. Some people have worked it out, whereas, okay, they remain in the relationship and they continue on with their life. I'm not knocking that. I'm just, to each his own. Okay. So some people, they're looking to get out of the relationship though. They're looking for a way to thrive forward, whereas they can see the evidence. They can see that progress is being made in their healing process. However, when a person has one foot in the support base and another foot where the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist is, then they're being stretched in two different directions at the same time. And that's not very helpful. If they are in a situation where they have to stay in that relationship, by all means, please keep working the support base. Keep working that support base. Continue to go to your appointments. Continue to do what you can right now. At the same time, I want to encourage you to look to expand your support base by doing some research. There was one website that I did mention already, meetups.com. A lot of you already know about that. So that is one way to expand your support base. But of course, don't come out of your comfort zone. Don't come out of your comfort zone to the point where you are suffering anxiety and panic attacks. And, you end up, in a place you don't want to end up, like the hospital or something. I wouldn't want you to do that. Some people have panic attacks very terribly. Their anxiety is on that level. Their social anxiety can be crippling. Okay, so I have compassion for you. I understand about that. I've actually met some people who are at that level. Their anxiety, they don't leave their house unless they have to. Matter of fact, even then, they may not leave. They try to find some other way to get things done. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out because some people are in that situation. So they're being stretched in two different directions. So I just encourage to look for ways to expand your support base and gradually spend less time with the narcissist and cluster B personality. And here's another thing I want to say. If a person is not able to physically leave, the goodbye starts mentally, spiritually, emotionally, long before the physical aspect of the goodbye takes place. So you don't have to share everything with the narcissist and cluster B personality. You don't have to invite them to social events. You don't have to stay connected to them on social media. That's not, you don't have to do that. See, that's where your personal power comes in. That's how you maintain and use your personal power, where it benefits you. And especially if you have children with the person, if you have children with the narcissist or the cluster personality, the other thing I want to say about that is when it comes to the gray rock, that is when the gray rock is most effective, because you have to be connected to the narcissist and cluster personality because of the children. So that's when the gray rock is effective. The gray rock is not very effective if there's no reason why you need to be connected to that person. In other words, you can leave that relationship. It may take a little bit more effort because maybe you have feelings for that person, or you're tied to them financially. But the bottom line is the gray rock method tends to work best when there's children involved with the narcissist and cluster personality, because that person has to be involved with them, even though it may be indirectly. But if you are a person who has gone no contact already, then you don't need to use the gray rock. The gray rock is only used when there is a connection. When the connection is no longer there, which means you have gone no contact, the gray rock method is not necessary. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the narcissist and the cluster personality, they will set out to sabotage any progress that's being made when it comes to the support base. The cluster personality and the narcissist, they have a strong sense of entitlement, but they also like to maintain a strong sense of control and dominance in the relationship. And this is male and female narcissists. Doesn't matter what the gender is. And also, it doesn't matter what the gender is when it comes to financial abuse. There are many men who have been financially abused by female narcissists. That's another video. Some people may laugh at that. Okay, I don't think it's funny. But, some people may find that a little amusing because they may not believe that that's possible, but it is. There are female narcissists that will milk a man dry when it comes to the finances. Okay. So, okay, let me move on from that, because I can already kind of feel, the buzz from that one already. But this is very real. It doesn't matter what the gender is when it comes to financial abuse of another person. Okay, so the narcissist and the cluster personality, they will look to maintain their false self-image, and that means that they will sabotage anything or anyone that they think is a threat to their false self-image. Your growth, your personal growth, is a threat to the false self-image of the narcissist. Let's just face that. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. Your personal growth, your transitioning, is something that will absolutely threaten the cluster B personality's false self-image. So even if you're not doing it intentionally, and I mean, it's very innocent when a person wants to thrive forward, when they want to live on this planet, okay, in a way that they feel good about themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, the narcissist and cluster B personality disagrees. They think there's something very wrong with that because it threatens their false self-image. They cannot be around other people who shine. The narcissist and cluster B personality has to be the one that shines the most. They can't be around other people who also have their moments of shine. They have their moments of victory. The narcissist is secretly jealous, sometimes blatantly jealous of their partners or their family members or their friends or their business partners or their co-workers. They are jealous. They don't want anyone else doing well. They have a strong sense of entitlement to the best in life, yet they want no one else to enjoy it. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on here. I want to wrap this up. I've kept you guys and gals a long time. Hope my stars are doing okay today or tonight. And I wish you all the very best. Okay, I was trying not to go too long with this. Okay, in conclusion, one of the best ways to begin focusing upon your own healing process in order to thrive forward is to take off the rose-colored glasses, which could also lead to doing shadow work. In a couple of my videos, I mentioned about shadow work. Shadow work is when you face yourself, okay, and you lovingly and patiently embrace yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you accept yourself and love yourself and respect yourself 100%, regardless of the good, the bad, the ugly about yourself. Shadow work is not easy to do at all because there are some things about ourselves. I'm quite certain if anyone was honest, they would say there were certain things about themselves that they would like to change. They may even be embarrassed about or ashamed of. However, shadow work helps a person to face all of that within themselves and still love themselves 100%. So that way, when they interact with a narcissist or anyone else for that matter, that they are standing, okay, they are grounded in their personal power and they're not, easily giving it away. They're not apologizing for existing. They find out that they contribute on this planet. Okay, it's not an accident that you're here. You're alive. You went through a lot. It's not an accident that you're still standing. So I want to encourage, especially my stars, to continue to thrive forward. And please, by all means, share your stories. That's very important. People cannot change the narcissist or the cluster personality. Therefore, by accepting that one is changing, this will help them to remain focused upon their own personal growth. Okay, so by maintaining your own healing process, this is one way that you can continue to thrive forward. This is one other way that you are continuing to grow. Personal growth is very important in order to maintain your personal power and to keep thriving forward. You can't change the narcissist. Nobody can. The narcissist can't change you. Okay? It's amazing how the narcissist has some people hoodwinked and fooled that they can change them. No, the narcissist and cluster personality, they don't have that much power. They're not that special. But they would have one to believe that they are. So by accepting that you have changed and accept that you are actually, let me not jump ahead. By accepting that you are transitioning, that is one of the best things you can do right now to continue to thrive forward. Again, some people may not be able to physically leave the relationship, but these are some of the things in conclusion I'm sharing with you, you can do right now to help yourself. Doesn't take money. I mean, unless you really want to do certain other things, it may take a little capital, it may take a little money, but I hope you think you're worth that. We have to start investing in ourselves instead of investing in the narcissist and cluster personality. So the narcissist is only loyal to the self. This can be one lesson to be learned from the painful experience of having dysfunctional relationship with him or her. One may choose to become motivated to invest in the self for a change by practicing self-preservation. By doing so, it may prove to be a game changer. So yeah, absolutely, that is a game changer. I've personally found this to be. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they're loyal to the self. So why should you be loyal to him or her? To the point where it's really causing your health to deteriorate. That's not a fair exchange. They're loyal to themselves and you're loyal to them. And you're suffering because of that. You see what I'm saying? It's like, what are you getting out of that exchange? It's like a person, you and the person are, you're in business together and there has been capital made or there's a return on investment, right? In your business. And the narcissist says, I'm going to take all of this. Good job. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're like, wait a minute. Where's my cut? Where's my piece of the pie? Where's my percentage? So it's like, when you're when you are involved with the narcissist, it's like, that's what's happening. There's a return on investment in the business, but the narcissist is the one holding the bag of money and they're walking off with it. And you're left there like, what about my cut? What about my percentage? I put just as much blood, sweat, and tears into this business as well. But anyway, that's just my example. But this can be a lesson learned from a very painful experience of having the dysfunctional relationship with him or her. This is where we can also come into peace with the fact that the relationship took place. We may not have all the answers. We may not know why the narcissist did whatever they did or why they behaved the way they behaved. But the bottom line is this: by accepting that the dysfunctional relationship happened is a game changer. It's not easy to do it, but it's very much the game changer. So the lesson learned from that painful experience, again, is one way to help a person to thrive forward. It's helping them to not be stuck in the sunken place where the narcissist wants him or her to be. So acceptance is very, very powerful and very much the game changer. And again, I found this to be personally the case. So one may choose to become motivated to invest in the self for a change by practicing self-preservation. A person who practices self-preservation is a person that the narcissist cannot use for source supply, period. Game over. Narcissists and cluster personality, they may attempt, but they won't be successful. A person who practices self-preservation is a person who is practicing mindfulness. What does that entail? That entails emotional discipline, assertion, or being assertive, and also practicing self-preservation, yes, but also personal boundaries. That's what I meant to say. Personal boundaries. All of this can be going on, and it's helping one to thrive forward. Okay, and it can very much be the game changer. One who has been uncomfortable for a long period of time by attempting to please, appease, and fulfill unrealistic demands of the narcissist or cluster B personality surely can find a way to face the challenge of making the adjustment necessary in order to heal past narcissistic abuse. I know that was a mouthful, but I certainly hope that that message absolutely is food to your soul. I hope that really uplifts you, because think about all of the things you went through. You have been uncomfortable for a long time due to the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist. Surely, by investing in yourself, you can find, okay, what you can find facing the challenge very much doable. Okay, so if you can go through that, and then you make the adjustment. Making the adjustment means that there's challenges you're going to face. So it's not going to always be pretty and rosy, and these adjustments must be made in order to heal past narcissistic abuse. So if you can go through all of what you've gone through, surely you can find a way to go through a few more challenges by making the adjustment necessary in order to heal. Because making the adjustment is not going to be easy at all. It's going to be challenging. But I certainly hope you think that you are worth that. A person does not need the permission or consent of the narcissist in order to begin reclaiming their life and identity. Some may feel or think that he or she needs the cooperation of the narcissist in order to obtain closure. This is not true. The narcissist does not do closure, acknowledgement, or clearing the air. He or she must keep the drama going in order to satisfy their false self-image. Rescuing and or saving the narcissist and the cluster B personality more than likely is not your life purpose or your calling, due to such behavior not representing balance. What's balance? Love, life, and divinity. So by your being in a relationship with a narcissist and cluster B personality, that alone is an imbalance. Because look at what you're getting out of that exchange. What are you getting out of it? By investing in a dysfunctional relationship. That's a poor investment. That's imbalance right there, right? So by rescuing and saving the narcissist or the cluster B personality, ask yourself, is that your life purpose? Is that your calling? It probably isn't. because such behavior, such as the behavior is rescuing and or saving the narcissist. That's the behavior we're talking about here. It does not represent balance. What is balance? Love, life, and divinity. That's a part of what balance is about. That's not the textbook definition. However, you will find when you're talking about balance, love, life, and divinity is a part of that. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you what the textbook balance, the definition of balance is the quality or state of being divine. Okay, often capitalized, pardon me. This is the definition of divinity. The quality or state of being divine, often capitalized, a divine being such as a god or a goddess. So think about yourself. How do you show up in that relationship? The way the narcissist treats you, is that of a god or a goddess? Do they treat you well? I'm not saying that you have to say that you're a god or a goddess. I'm simply pointing out how when you are in a relationship with a narcissist and cluster personality, do you feel like you're being treated with love, respect? Okay, and is that a balance going on? That's an imbalance. Okay, that's an imbalance when that's not being reciprocated. When your love is not being reciprocated, that's an imbalance. So more than likely, you're not going to feel like you're whole. You're not going to feel like a person who can raise their vibrational frequency or raise their level of consciousness up to the God status or goddess status. You're not going to feel that way. More than likely, you're not going to feel that way because the narcissist and the cluster personality, the way that they're treating you or mistreating you in that relationship. So balance is key. It really, really is. So if there's an imbalance, then more than likely, you're probably not going to feel like that relationship is a part of your purpose in life. So having the relationship with the narcissist and cluster personality, is that in alignment with your purpose in life? Is that in alignment or is it out of alignment? And, only you can answer that question. Okay, so I just wanted to really point those things out in conclusion, and one does not really need to know what is going on in the life of the narcissist or cluster personality. They don't have to really know. They want to know. Yeah, sometimes we want to know. It's the desire, but we don't need to know what's going on in the life of the cluster personality and the narcissist, because that serves as a distraction. Whenever we're thinking about the narcissist, whenever we're thinking about the cluster personality and what they're doing and all of these things, right? It's a distraction. It serves to be a distraction from our own personal growth. Until the person realizes that, wait a minute, I'm in a dysfunctional relationship. This is not my life calling. This is not my life purpose to do this. I got, it may have been a detour. Okay, and person can go back to their childhood and say, well, yeah, I didn't start this, but it seems like all of my life thus far, I've been dealing with narcissists. I've been dealing with cluster personalities. Earlier we were talking about that dark scenario repeating itself. No matter where you go, no matter what's going on, no matter who, what, when, how, or why, just seems like that same nightmarish scenario repeats. There's always a narcissist close by you. And why is that repeating itself? Number one is because the number one question, well, not the number one question, but a highlightable question that I tend to ask in a lot of my videos is, what is the purpose of the relationship with the narcissist? What is the purpose of it? Only you can answer that question. I cannot answer that question. No one else can answer that question. But what is the purpose of the relationship with the narcissist? What is the purpose of it? That is where you will find that there were certain lessons, valuable lessons to be learned, not because you're cursed, not because you're a bad person, not because you don't deserve to be loved. No, it is just some valuable lessons. None of us are our experiences. You are not your experience. I am not my experience. So when that dysfunctional relationship happens, yes, it feels badly. However, it's full of valuable lessons to be learned. Once the valuable lesson is learned, guess what? You don't have to repeat that scenario. It's amazing how a lot of us, we learn our most valuable lessons via painful experiences. Once we get the valuable lesson, we graduate, we pass the class, and we graduate. And then we will find that we're not involved with narcissists and cluster B personalities. We're not involved with them anymore because we learned certain valuable lessons and we answered the question, what is the purpose of the relationship with the narcissist and cluster B personality? Once you find what the purpose is, it will help put things into perspective. More than likely, one of the things that you will find in your answer is that that is not your calling. That is not your life purpose, which is to have a dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist. So what is the purpose of the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist and cluster B personality? Part of the answer may be that the purpose of that relationship is so you can realize that that is not your purpose. It's not your calling to be involved with that individual. That chapter is closed. So the purpose of the relationship is so you can wake up and realize that. Again, no one can answer that question for you. So that's a very highlightable, powerful question that I answered years ago for myself. What is the purpose of the relationship? What is the purpose? Because 9 times out of 10 chances, you're going to find that it's not in alignment with your life purpose. That dysfunctional relationship, how is that in alignment with your life purpose? It's not. It's an interruption. It's a distraction. It's a detour, getting you off the path or off of the path of your life purpose. It's getting you off of that. Okay, I didn't mean to get that deep into it, but I certainly hope that, especially my stars, got something out of that. Because again, for me, that was a game changer. Once I answered that question for myself, I was never the same after that. Like, okay, well, what is the purpose of this relationship that I'm having with the narcissist? And man, oh man, and girlfriend, did that open my eyes. It really did. Okay, so we may want to know what's going on with him or her, but we don't have to know. It's a desire. And when we realize that life, death, and rebirth is occurring with every breath, every heartbeat, and every blinking of our eyes, it is a game changer. So you really want to know what's going on? Divert your attention from the narcissist to yourself. What's going on with you? One of the things that's going on is that life, death, and rebirth is occurring with every breath you take, every heartbeat, and every time you blink your eyes. Life, death, and resurrection is happening. That's what's going on. Whatever the narcissist is doing, whatever the cluster B personality is doing, I doubt very much it can top that. I doubt it. But I don't know. Maybe you think differently. I don't know. But I wanted to point that out because to me, that's very much a game changer. So when I found that out and when I realized it, yes, it helped me to place a lot of things into perspective and my actions followed. I was able to behave accordingly after that. So if you really want to know what's going on, divert your attention from the narcissist to yourself. What's really going on is that life, death, and rebirth is occurring every time you breathe, every time your heart beats, and every time you blink your eyes. That's what's really up. That's what's really going on right there. That's what did they say? That's what's up. Okay, that's what's really going on. So your life does have purpose and you have a story to tell. Don't keep telling the story that the narcissist sold you. How many of us have been telling that story that the narcissist has sold us? Been telling that false story for a long time. So tell your story. What's your story? And share it. and write the epilogue to your story right now. This is something, all these things you can do right now for yourself to help you to thrive forward. And all of this can help you prepare for the physical manifestation of your not having a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist again. So tell your story now. Write the epilogue to your story. You don't have to keep telling the same story that the narcissist sold you, because that's a recycle of a lie. That's a recycle of a fantasy of the narcissist, which is very cryptic. Okay, it's very disturbing if you think about it. The narcissist has written you as a character in their dark and twisted story. And they sold you a story that was never yours in the first place. So you don't have to keep, don't keep sharing. Don't keep sharing and telling that story. No, write the epilogue to your story. What's your story? What do you envision when you think about your life and you think about yourself? And when you think about relationships, how do you fit into relationships? Matter of fact, how do you fit into a dysfunctional relationship? And I know years ago, my answer was, I don't fit. I'm no longer, pardon me, I'm no longer operating off of the vibrational frequency that will ensure that I am in a dysfunctional relationship. I'm no longer operating on that vibrational frequency. So therefore, I'm no longer a vibrational match for a narcissist or a cluster B personality. I'm not a match because I'm not operating and functioning on that vibration. So I really, I wish for you all to get to that place if you haven't already. Some of you already are there, and woohoo, yay, bravo. But some of us, we have some work to do, and that's okay too. That's okay. All right. So we just talked about the dysfunctional relationship with narcissists, and, coming to peace with facing that fact that the relationship took place. Was it painful? Yes. But there's a lot of valuable lessons that all of us, not just you, not just me, all of us can learn from very painful experiences. Now, I'm going to rephrase that. It's amazing how it's human nature. It's human nature. So we're wired this way for some reason. That's a mystery. But we learn our most valuable lessons via painful experiences. Now I'm going to join you all in the chat room. Okay. After I sip on some, my tea is so cold now. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Ellie Wynn. Hello. How are you? Hi, Bird, T-Boz. What is it? T-Paz, 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 Bird. What's up, Bird? 77, 7 Wolf. Hi. Oh boy. Jacqueline, welcome to Luminousz Star. Okay, I'm just scrolling. And again, I just want to remind everyone, if you have any really, really personal questions pertaining to what we talked about today, please send those to my email. Welcome to Luminousz Star, Shelley Page. Welcome, Unchat. Interesting name for, okay, Unchat. I'm also checking for any questions you all may have. Bird says, hint for people, green tea is a great relaxer. Yeah, it is. I agree 100%, Bird. Tea is very relaxing. Now I love green tea. That's my favorite, by the way. Let's see. Burry Hun. Welcome to Luminous Star. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Burry Hun. Okay. Jacqueline, welcome. Mad Mice, or is it Mad Nice? Okay, gotcha. Mad Nice. Welcome to Luminous Star. Okay. And also, I want to invite everyone to send me emails of any topics relating to narcissistic abuse that you would like for me to share in a live stream, or actually in a regular video. Videos come out every Sunday and every Thursday. Now, if anyone has any suggestions for a topic related to narcissistic abuse that they would like for me to cover, please don't hesitate to send that to my email. Now, I know I've kept my stars, I kept you guys and gals long enough. I think we were going on for 3 hours now, maybe 4. Oh, yes. We've been going on for a while. But I'm usually doing live streams once to twice a month, but I've already started changing that. I did 2 live streams last month. So this live stream today, we've done this one. And then more than likely, I'm going to do another live stream this week. So that's probably going to be coming up this Thursday. All the videos that I put out usually come out on Thursdays and Sundays. So I'm probably going to just try to keep it around that same time frame. And you guys and gals really help me to get more live streams out. Okay. So send me some suggestions that you may want to discuss during a live stream. All right. I'm reading a lot of your comments, and I love the comments, by the way. I'm looking for questions as well. Questions. Thank you, Jacqueline. I'm glad that you find my channel a very great resource. And yeah, that's why I'm here. I like to help share the wealth, the inspiration, the motivation. That's why I'm here. That's why I started this channel. Well, that's part of the reason why I started this channel. And there have been a few times that I came close to pulling the plug on this channel, but I'm so glad I didn't. So Jacqueline, thank you so much for your comments. And actually everyone who is sharing their thoughts about the Luminous Star channel, thank you very much. This is our community where we share, information about narcissistic abuse and bring that awareness out to the public. There are a lot of people actually who are showing more concern about learning about narcissists and narcissism and narcissistic abuse and the effects of it. So the Luminous Star channel community is growing, and I am so proud of that. I am proud of you guys. I'm proud of my stars. Okay, you guys and gals are helping me to keep this channel active. So I love it. Okay, now I do see a question. And I don't want to butcher your name. Burry Hun says, how can I be myself around narcs? Again, forgive me if I have butchered your name. However, I want to just go ahead and answer your question. And that is, how can I be myself around narcs? Well, here's the thing. The narcissist and the narcissistic personality, they have a false self-image. So that's something that they're loyal to. So anything that you may say or do with, regardless if it's intentional or not, more than likely it's going to be very easy for you to end up challenging the false self-image of the narcissist, challenging as well as being a threat to the false self-image of the narcissist. The narcissist is a very fragile individual in terms of their emotional state. They tend to operate from a lower vibrational frequency, meaning there are certain emotions that they feel and express with ease. That's jealousy, hatred, fear, and anger. So when you're around somebody like that, you can clearly see, I hope everybody can see that this is how you can easily offend him or her, somebody who's in that kind of state. I mean, you can just look at them wrong and you will be a threat to them. You will offend them. So as far as like you're being yourself around the narcissist, I would say just go ahead and continue to just be yourself. Don't internalize the state that they're in. Try not to internalize what they say, what they do, the motives behind it. You will drive yourself up the wall trying to figure the narcissist and the cluster personality out, and then walking on eggshells. So just be yourself without apology. You're not here by accident. You contribute as well. See, remember, the narcissist and the cluster personality, they don't like anybody else to shine. So by you being yourself, you're shining. Okay? The star that you are shining. You're making things happen. So divert, a part of you being yourself is to divert your attention from the narcissist to yourself. Make sure you're okay. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they don't care about anyone else. They're only loyal to the false self-image. And as long as you are able or willing to comply to that, they will continue to see you as source supply. So what's that saying? You damn if you do and you damn if you don't. So it's really not about trying to walk on eggshells with these people. They want you to continue to feel uneasy around him or her because it feeds their false self-image. So of course, they're going to try to get you to be intimidated around him or her for being yourself. They're not going to be very happy with you being yourself, but that's not something that I want you to be discouraged about. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they're not happy with anybody, really. They see other people as game pieces on a game board to be maneuvered by them at will. So how can they really be, they're really not happy with anybody. So yeah, just be yourself. Be yourself. Thank you for the question. And I know that question was just put out, but thank you for that question. Truth seeker, thank you. Truth seeker gives thanks. All right. Garden of love and happiness. Thank you and welcome to the Luminousz Star channel. Okay, guys, I'm just scrolling down here. Scrolling. Okay, Unchat asks which about the live streams. Okay, now anyway, I'm just putting this out right now. The next live stream is coming up in a few days. Okay, because we're hitting around the end of the month now. So we have 28 days this month. And I'm not going to wait until the last day of the month to do the next live stream. So more than likely, the next live stream will be this week. So that can be from anywhere today till next Sunday. But I'm really going to aim for for this Thursday. Okay, so just in a few days. And I am open to any suggestions, anything you guys and gals want to talk about that's related to narcissistic abuse. Okay. Looking at comments and okay, I'm looking for questions. Okay, this is an interesting comment from Patricia Davis. Again, welcome to the Luminous Star channel. She says the fact that you want to go back makes her hate you more. In her eyes, you're insane. You want more. She will give you more. Step it up every time. Okay, I think I know what you're saying, what you're saying here. So the fact that the fact that you keep going back to the narcissist, because it is. What do they say about insanity? You keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So yeah, when a person goes back to the narcissist over and over, the narcissist, in their eyes, they do see that as an opportunity to continue to mistreat the other person. Not saying that they're right. It's just that they're looking for ways to get the source supply anyway. In other words, to say source supply, in other words, that is to mistreat him or her. That's another way of looking at it. They're looking to use the person. So they want this person to be the source supplier over and over again. And they take for granted that that person is always going to be there available to be a source supplier. So when they see that the person continues to be available, I mean, years and years and years go by and this person is still holding the torch for him or her, the narcissist and the cluster personality, for that reason alone, they're not going to take that particular ex seriously. They're going to be looking at them salivating. Oh, okay, I can get some more out of this person. So in a sense, yes, it is like insanity and nothing really gets resolved. So good comment, good point, Patricia. Wealthy 174, welcome to the Luminous Star channel. So as far as it seems like somebody is concerned about Wealthy 174, no contact. So no contact. Yes, if you choose that, if you choose no contact, yes, by all means, no contact. However, everyone has not worked up to that capacity, and no judgment from me. Been there, done that. There have been times that I have returned to a particular cluster B personality dysfunctional relationship, and it wasn't even a romantic one. Okay, it wasn't a romantic one. All right, so I know about that. So going no contact for me has been, from that particular relationship, has been a game changer. So no contact usually is what works best. A lot of people, however, they have to gradually work up to that. They have to get to that point where they can just say, you know what? I've planned out how I'm going to move away from this relationship. A lot of people have to plan it. Matter of fact, that's a great idea for another video. Is I will go over how you can plan to just go ahead, should you choose to move forward and go no contact. I've done several videos about that, no contact, but we can go a little bit deeper with that because you can plan how you're going to go no contact. Okay, so yeah, no contact is usually what works best. Okay, Wealthy One says, mine is not romantic either, but I like the tools that you shared about unapologetically being yourself if you have to be around them. Yes, thank you very much, Wealthy 174, for your comment. Truth Seeker, yes, reaches out to my narcissist cousin to replace my narcissist ex just to feel something. It was pathetic. Yeah, but you know what? A lot of Truth Seeker, great comment. Thank you for the comment. A lot of people, they like the drama in order to feel something. Sometimes this is how traumatic, this is how the adverse effects of trauma works. Some people have been traumatized in the past. Some people, they have numbed out due to being traumatized. And so they go for drama and they try to stir up chaos so they can feel something. And this is a very human condition thing. This is a very human nature thing to do. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just that some people, they dive right into the chaos and the drama. And if there's nothing going on, they try to stir up or instigate the drama in order to feel something, because usually they're numbed out. Okay. All right. All right. Truth Seeker has a question. What are clutter B and clutter A personality? Yeah, the cluster B is okay, Truth Seeker. The cluster B personality and the cluster A personality. But as I stated before, there are several types of personalities. However, a lot of mental health care professionals have found, and this is due to research, so don't take my word for it, due to research, that it is the cluster B personality that is the most complex out of all the cluster personalities. Now, cluster A tends to be the personality that, like in a person who is eccentric, they're prone to high anxiety levels. They tend to be very shy, very nervous types of individuals. And I want to go ahead and point out to everybody, please do your research on each cluster personality. I think I actually placed that I think I put that as one of the links in the description box below, but I don't want to give you the wrong definition for the cluster A. So let's go ahead and take a look. Cluster A personality, but from my recollection, they're the ones that are prone to be, eccentrics, nervous, social, social anxiety, things of this sort. Okay, let me look up cluster A. Okay, cluster A personality is called the odd or eccentric cluster. Okay, I'm glad to see I got that right. I didn't want to give you all the wrong answer. It includes paranoid personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder. The common features of the personality disorders in this cluster are social awkwardness and social withdrawal. So that is your cluster A personality. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Thank you so much for the question. Okay, everybody, my stars, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I have taken up a lot of your time, but according to the comments, you guys and gals, you seem to have enjoyed this stream. So I thank you very much. You guys and gals, you help me to stay motivated. You just don't know. I wish I can just really sum this up in one sentence, but sometimes there's certain things that when you express gratitude, one sentence or one word is just not enough. So I'm going to just simply say, especially to my stars, thank you very much for motivating me and inspiring me to keep this channel active. But not only that, there are a lot of times that there are certain things that I go through right now in life. There's certain challenges that I face right now that I think about you all. Okay, just in general, it's like I'm so glad that this channel is still active, and your comments help me to see that this channel is very much needed and it is making an impact. So I really, really thank all of you for that. The Garden of Love and Happiness says, learning about this is draining, but also rewarding. Well, I'm glad to hear that. When change happens, there's always challenges that come with the change and transition. I remember when a few years ago, when I met some military veterans, female military veterans like myself, and they would share their stories and we would keep each other uplifted. Okay. And so it is very, whenever the transition is happening, whenever the change is happening, yes, it can be draining, yet it is rewarding. It's very well worth it. It's an adjustment to, begin to exist on this planet as a person who no longer invest in dysfunction. It's an adjustment because you're coming from one extreme. Well, maybe extreme is not the right word, but you're coming from one state of being to the other. So the transition is going to be rewarding yet challenging. Okay. All right, stars. On that note, mwah, mwah, thank you so much. And we're going to do this again in a few days. So watch out for the next live stream. And I don't want to give away what we're going to be talking about, but I will say this on the next live stream. You might want to go ahead and prepare, get yourself comfortable. And on the next live stream, have some snacks, or something like that. Because it's going to be a very interesting live stream. I think all of them are, but in the next live stream, I'm going to get a little bit deeper into how a person can really, because I don't have all the answers. We're learning, all together. We're learning as we grow and move forward and thrive forward. Sometimes there's certain things I want to share about some of my story. However, I haven't, and I hope you guys and girls understand this, I haven't gotten to that point yet where I can really just, I'm not comfortable with saying all of it. Okay. So I hope you all continue to be patient with me, but there are certain aspects of my story that I would like to share, but I'm not there yet, whereas I feel comfortable in sharing it. So I hope that makes sense. So stay tuned for the next live stream. And again, thank you everyone for joining me. And until next time, take care of yourself, and I wish you the absolute best. Mwah. Okay.